Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sinbad master the art of casual domestic terrorism in one of the most underrated Christmas movies we've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome back to another unfortunate case of movie soulmates. My name's SoulKeever.
And I'm Astrid.
And we just watched Jingle All the Way.
This movie is such a classic, and I'm so mad it only got a 14%.
It's somewhere around there, 14 or 15. Yeah, it's really underrated, and I don't know why it got slayed in reviews, because it's a pretty competent movie. There's nothing that really leaps out at you and says, wow, this is bad.
Mm-hmm. I mean, not in terms of how the movie was made. There's a couple plot things.
What's wrong with the plot?
I just don't like that he punched the reindeer, and that's really all it comes down to.
Why are you so hung up on the damn reindeer?
I'm not a fan of casual animal abuse as a comedy.
The reindeer was asking for it.
He was not, and then he got the reindeer drunk, so now he's gonna have, like, weird reindeer shits in the backyard.
Oh, that's hilarious, though.
It's a disaster.
That's funny. It's funny stuff.
It's terrible. Alcohol's poison to animals.
It's funny.
You're terrible.
He's having a drink with a buddy. That's all he's doing.
Yeah, that's how it was supposed to play. I'm just saying, not classy. Not classy. For a dude that now has, like, miniature horses and stuff living on his property and going into his house.
Yeah, they probably all have a drink together.
Yeah, that's a problem. That's a problem if, what's his miniature horse's name? Lulu and Whiskey, I think their names are.
I don't think he gives them booze.
He's got,
he probably
like, a
just
horse
feeds them
and a
broccoli.
donkey. Yeah, he gives them good snacks. Anyway, hopefully Whiskey and Lulu get treated differently there, Arnold. That's all I'm saying.
I don't think he punches out the miniature horse.
Good.
Jesus Christ.
I know.
Well, let's hop right into this right now. What did you think this movie was going to be when you went to see it for the first time, or when you saw it for the first time?
Oh, I mean, okay. I saw it for the first time when I was a real little kid, so I couldn't tell you. When I tell you that this movie has been a staple of my childhood Christmases, I mean it. I mean it in the way that Christmas Vacation is something that people play every year. Jingle All the Way was something my family played every year. So it goes far back enough that I have no memory of what it should have been or what I thought it was going to be. I just knew it was going to be a dad trying to get his kid a Christmas present. And let me tell you, I haven't seen it in a few years, and rewatching it, I didn't remember exactly how ridiculous it got. Like, I forgot about the actual domestic terrorism plot that occurs in this movie. I forget about the attempted child kidnapping that occurs in this movie. There's some heavy stuff. The attempted assault that happens in this movie, like, it's intense, but it's a lot of, it still plays as a comedy. It's so much fun.
It really does show the lengths that a parent might go to go out and get that one toy that their kid absolutely wants. Especially when they've mastered the art of procrastination.
Yes. So I had my mom watch this movie with us, and every time he did something dumb, she would just laugh and go, "Rookie mistake." Like, who waits till Christmas Eve? Who thinks the toy's gonna still be there? Who promises something before it's in your hands? Like, rookie mistake.
It's just amateur parenting stuff.
Amateur.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I would categorize this movie as probably a lower tier Christmas classic.
Wow.
I didn't say it wasn't a Christmas classic.
Lower tier? What's this lower tier bullshit?
All right, there's lower tier, there's mid tier, and there's top tier.
I mean,
mid tier is Christmas Vacation.
Okay, so what's top tier?
Top tier is like A Christmas Story or A Christmas Carol.
Okay, A Christmas Carol I'll accept. A Christmas Story belongs in none of those tiers. Not a classic.
Christmas Story is top tier.
Get that stupid leg lamp out of my life. I hate that movie.
Christmas Story, top tier.
No.
Yes, it is.
I refuse to accept that. It
absolutely is top tier.
No. Jingle All the Way deserves that spot.
Jingle All the Way.
It's a classic.
Jingle All the Way is like lower tier, where people kind of forget about it from year to year, but they still watch it sometimes because it's a really enjoyable movie.
Rude.
It's not mid-tier, it's not top tier, it's lower tier classic.
Okay, no. Real top tier classic Christmas movie, Die Hard.
Die Hard isn't even a Christmas movie.
Literally takes place at a Christmas party.
It's just an action movie with a Christmas setting that doesn't qualify as a Christmas movie.
We regularly argue about this, and I'm right, and he's wrong.
And the people who think it's a Christmas movie are goddamn wrong.
Agree to disagree, Scrooge.
Whatever. Die Hard, a Christmas movie, my aching ass.
Die Hard, top tier Christmas movie. Jingle All the Way, at least a mid-tier Christmas movie.
I wouldn't place it mid-tier.
Okay, rich boy.
What?
Me, growing up watching mainstream classic Christmas movies.
Why does that make me a rich boy?
Too good for Jingle All the Way and the other knockoff Christmas classics.
Why does that make someone rich? Because they say, oh, this isn't top tier.
You get your
What kind of
Jingle All
reasoning
the
is that?
Way, you get your poor kid orange slices,
Should fall on your head or something?
and you enjoy your Christmas.
Why don't we just go into what this movie is all about? Alright, so when I first saw this movie, I didn't think it was going to be like a superhero kind of movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger getting all up in like this superhero gear. Now, this is long before superhero movies were popular. The only superhero movie that was really popular at the time was Batman, and then maybe Superman like a decade prior, if that. Superman was actually popular in 78.
And of course, the classic Adam West Batman.
Oy, yeah. Yeah, there was that one. But superhero movies weren't really so much a thing then. Back in 96 when this was made. So
Right.
Arnold Schwarzenegger getting in a superhero getup, by 96, Arnold Schwarzenegger is about 49 years old. He's getting up there in years, so he's got limited time to be a superhero, so they put him in a superhero costume, and he looked pretty good.
He really did, though. He's Arnold. Come on. And the crazy thing about this movie, to me, that the scene that I had forgotten about is that they find a dude bigger than Arnold for specifically a scene where Arnold has to be scared of getting his butt kicked. And I was like, who is this guy? And you were like, oh, he's from whatever wrestling thing.
Yeah, he's the Big Show.
He's like 7 feet tall and chained
Yeah,
or whatever.
he's the Big Show from WWE, or AKA the Giant, while he was in WCW, because he was in WCW at the time that they made this movie.
It thoroughly amuses me that they had to put a casting call out for probably must be taller than Arnold.
Well, they didn't have to look hard.
Must make Arnold look small.
Honestly, Hulk Hogan probably hooked him up with the role somehow or another.
Oh.
Because everyone knows Hulk Hogan then, and Hulk Hogan was in some movies.
Okay, was he just not available for that part?
Well, Hulk Hogan wouldn't have been big enough.
Oh, is he smaller than Arnold?
No, he just wouldn't have been big enough to be imposing against Arnold. Because he's only 5 inches taller than Arnold, maybe?
Oh, too evenly matched.
Yeah.
They need an absolute brick shit house of a man.
They need someone like a foot taller, and
Okay.
Arnold is 6 feet, so
So that's hard to find.
so they got the Giant,
All right.
7 feet tall man,
Okay. Okay.
and there's not exactly a long list of 7 foot tall men who are also physically imposing with big
Yeah.
muscles.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. That's fair.
Pretty short list, so that's why they got Paul White, the Giant.
Yeah. Yeah. It was interesting to see Arnold in a role that wasn't really based on his size, and they still kind of shoehorned it in at the end by putting him in that costume, and I liked that. And it's kind of a nod to his, his physique and how he had his name built. But overall, it's really more just a movie about his dad trying to get his kid a toy for Christmas because he knows he's a screw up.
Yeah, it's not like the first role you would think of for Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can really tell that this is building on his kindergarten cop role.
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
Because he was trying to build a family-friendly image at the time, and well, naturally, this fits right in there.
But even Kindergarten Cop was kind of like a lot of the humor was based off of him being a giant who's with a bunch of tiny kindergartners.
Well, yeah, there's that,
Right.
and there wasn't hardly any of that in this, so that's why it was a little different.
That's why it was like this role doesn't feel like it was written for Arnold,
I don't think it was.
and that's interesting to me because every other thing I've seen him in, I feel like the roles were written for Arnold.
I don't think it was necessarily written for him, but I think they had it in mind because they wanted to put him in the suit.
That big beautiful bastard.
Because they pretty much they pretty much designed the movie, I think, around the TurboMan idea.
Just a bunch of nerds getting together like, let's make a super suit.
Yeah, pretty much.
And that's why they have a special on the DVD about the making of the super suit.
Oh yeah, it was a big deal. So here's what we get into right here. Arnold Schwarzenegger's character is kind of this absent-minded salesman who has no idea what's going on in his son's life.
Yeah.
He misses everything, and he even asks his son, what do you want for Christmas? After this, his son is for hours parked in front of the TV watching a show called TurboMan.
And then,
what do you think your son wants?
You go into this kid's bedroom. He's got TurboMan posters on the walls. He's got TurboMan bed sheets. He's got, I think, TurboMan pajamas on. Like, he's,
He eats TurboMan cereal.
Yeah, he eats TurboMan breakfast cereal. He tells his dad, like, when you make a promise, you have to keep it because TurboMan says, if you want to keep you need to always keep your promises if you want to keep your friends. Like, obviously, it's the only thing this kid thinks about, so...
Yeah, this kid idolizes TurboMan, so... You know what, Dad?
How'd you miss it?
Oddly enough, his name is Howard.
Yes. Classic Austrian name.
Yes, maybe there are Austrian men named Howard. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But if there are, I've never met them.
I don't know. Neither have I.
Usually the Austrian names I've heard are Christoph and Arnold and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Howard?
I don't know. Is Austria one of those countries that changes the V and the W sound?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, then Howard would make no sense. Minimally, his name would be Howard.
Yeah.
So, meh. Oversights. But, I mean, if that's the worst we fault this movie with, then again, this movie deserves better than 14%.
Yeah, I know. It deserves more than 14%. Yes, it does, actually.
Yes. But anyway, yeah, it opens the same way that, like, every 90s family movie opens, where one of the parents or possibly both of the parents need to learn that they need to prioritize their family. Like, it's every 90s Christmas movie.
And you kind of feel bad for the guy because obviously he's working very hard at his job. And he's actually very good at it. He's very personable to all the customers on the phone.
Oh, yeah.
It's just that he doesn't have a lot of time for his family because he's working so much.
Right. And there's a funny scene in there that I liked where they kind of show him in work mode, and like you said, he's really good at his job, and it's not like an inaccurate representation of sales, but it's just funny because he's in work mode and then his wife calls him and you can tell he's still in work mode because he uses his like signature hang-up line on her and she gets pissed because he's like, and don't forget, you're my number one customer.
And then he realizes what he's saying. He's like, oh no,
wait, Liz, no. And she's
Liz, played by Tom Hanks' wife, Rita Wilson.
Yes, who I'm sorry I called her, what did I call her? Poor man's Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yes, you called her like discount Jamie Lee Curtis, and I'm just looking at you going, are you serious right now?
I'm sorry.
Look, Rita Wilson is not huge like Tom Hanks. She's like B-list.
I've seen her before. I just think she looks like Jamie Lee Curtis.
But, she's not nobody. She was in Sleepless in Seattle, too.
Do I look like I'm old enough to care about Sleepless in Seattle?
It's a big movie for Tom Hanks and
yeah, from what, 1992?
3.
Yeah. You know what I wanted in 1993? The Little Mermaid.
That's a pretty good movie.
That my mom was foolish enough to promise that she would get me without realizing it was in the Disney vault.
Yes, rookie mistake.
Yes, which is why she was laughing at the rookie mistake. She's I remember.
The Disney vault back when that was still a thing.
Right.
Now everything's on stream, so you don't have to care about the Disney vault anymore.
Yep, you just have to care about the Disney streaming service.
Yep. Pretty much what Disney wants.
Another classic 90s trope that they had in here is the handsy neighbor. The handsy divorcee neighbor.
Played by Phil Hartman, an absolute legend of TV. Dude was on SNL, The Simpsons, Third Rock from the Sun.
He played such a good skis bag. And he doesn't look like a skis bag, so I don't get how he got typecast that way, but...
You know what's real tragic is that this was... Actually, it's not tragic because this was a good movie, but this was like the last theatrically released movie while he was alive.
Wow.
His last movie role was Small Soldiers, but that was released after he died because his wife shot him.
That's brutal.
Yeah, it's terrible. He was a good man, apparently. No one had a bad thing to say about him.
Except apparently his wife.
Well, that's because she had some problems.
No, I know. Yeah, brutal.
Yeah.
She probably should have never had access to a firearm.
Probably not, but that's the way it went down, so whatevs.
Yep. But
this dude was great. He's such a good scumbag. Like,
Uh-huh.
it can't be said enough how skeezy comes off. He plays the role really big, too.
Right. Didn't he do Zach Brannigan in Futurama?
No, he was going to be
he was
Zach.
Okay, so he was going to play another skis bag just based on voice.
He was Troy McClure on The Simpsons.
Okay.
And then he was going to be Zach Brannigan because he auditioned.
Okay.
And he had a great audition, but then, he was murdered.
Yeah.
So they had to replace him.
Yeah, they found somebody who sounded a fair amount like him, though.
Yeah, they got a guy who could do a really solid impression. So when you watch Futurama, you think, hey, that sounds like Phil Hartman, but it's not.
Yeah. But he plays the skeezy bachelor, and it's like, apparently there's been such a night and day transformation from his divorce to his single fatherhood that, like, even his 6-year-old 7-year-old child has noticed, because then he recommends to his little friend, like, why don't your parents get divorced? Did wonders for my dad.
And his dad like gets so much ass apparently.
Yep.
That he's getting cookies and offers to come fix the gutters for every woman in the neighborhood.
Yep.
And you kind of wonder, are these women are married, right?
You say, are these all divorcees or widows or?
I have a feeling that these are all married women that are propositioning him.
Yep, they're just flirting with the bachelor.
But instead, he wants
his actual neighbor.
He wants Liz,
yes.
Who he calls Lizzie.
Yes, which is uncomfortable when you give somebody like that kind of a nickname in that kind of a setting. And
he makes himself a little too comfortable at their house.
He just invites himself in, tells her to take a shower, starts cooking things in her kitchen, puts the star on their Christmas tree.
Who tells someone to go take a shower in their own house?
Right, like, first off, I'm a grown-ass woman. I can decide when I need to shower. Second off, I don't need your permission. It's in my house. Go home. Third, he yelled at her kid, like, right after she left.
Oh, yeah, she went to go take a shower, then he accidentally burned himself on one of the baked goods.
Yes, that he was going to eat, like a thieving little child.
Because normally he's got such a cheery disposition to keep people off guard, but as soon as he gets burned, you see, oh boy, he's not as low-key as he acts like.
Yep.
Which you probably have an idea of why his wife left him.
Yes, he probably has a bit of a temper, and also he's just as absent-minded and ignoring as Howard. He's just putting on a show now until he can hook someone else.
Oh yeah, he's just trying to get some booty.
Yep. It's gross. And it happens all the time.
And I don't know why he keeps going after Liz, because Liz is laying it on thick and making it very clear, I'm not interested.
Right, like he tries to do like the hand move over her shoulder, and she like sways away.
She keeps shrugging it off. And
right.
She keeps giving him the brush off. It's so obvious. Yeah. This guy can't take a hint.
Yep, she literally keeps bringing up her husband, takes the star back down like that's Howard's job. He's adamant about it. And then he digs at him like, wish he was so adamant about spending time with his family. Like, how dare you?
This guy has the nuts to brag to Howard about her cookies and hanging out at their house and stuff.
Right, yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, obviously he wants Howard to know that he's there in his house doing the man stuff, making him feel threatened.
And, if a guy looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger, do you really want to get on his bad side?
Right.
Because this isn't Arnold Schwarzenegger now where he's all old and he's lost all of his big muscles and whatnot.
I think Arnold Schwarzenegger now could still kick my ass.
Arnold Schwarzenegger now is probably still pretty strong. He'd probably still whoop someone's ass.
Mm-hmm.
But Arnold Schwarzenegger, when he was 49, he's still a pretty big guy.
Oh, yeah. He could
huge. Probably put the smack down and just wipe the floor with someone.
Yep. So, not wise.
And then he'd have a stogie after the fact.
Yeah. Not wise of his neighbor to be so smug. Oh, better wrap some chains around your tires. I already got my present that I know you don't have, so let me tell you exactly where in my house I put it. Like,
he's practically giving him an invitation to go over there and take the damn TurboMan.
Right. And also, apparently, he spends no money protecting, like, actually securing his house, because later on, Howard breaks into his house with a credit card.
Oh my god, how is that even possible? You can't really do that without just the lousiest locks on your door.
Yeah, what is this? Like a school locker? How'd you get in that easy? It's a front door. There should be some measure of security.
Doesn't this guy have a deadbolt?
Yeah. Wow.
Put a deadbolt on your house, a chain or something, dude.
Right? Like, it's a nice neighborhood, but rich people steal too, yo.
Duh.
Wow.
Rich people steal the most.
More, right? Yeah, they really do, though. And they steal on a bigger scale. So lock your doors, you dumbass.
No, he didn't lock his doors, and he got in there, and sure enough, Howard went for that TurboMan. He almost got it, too.
He really did. If he hadn't stopped because he cared about the fire, he would have gotten away with it.
He should have just ran.
He should have. Okay, see? Because if he'd have ran, the house would have, burned, the living room would have burned, all the presents would have burned, and they would not have been able to determine that he thieved the TurboMan.
See, that would have been a win for Howard. Howard should have looked at that nativity scene in the fire and said, well, this looks like a win for Howard.
Right? Just, kicking the glass in the back window, and then it looked like the reindeer got in and ran around.
Yeah. See?
Easy peasy. And then he wouldn't have had to punch the reindeer.
It's all... Yes. He wouldn't have had to punch the reindeer because the reindeer would have been his accomplice.
Mm-hmm.
That's horrible. Instead, his conscience gets the better of him. Instead, he has to tangle with Myron.
Yup.
The on-duty mailman.
The world's worst mailman.
This mailman is very obviously on duty, carrying a mailbag full of letters
yes.
and packages.
Yes.
It's just slung around his shoulder, and he's just on foot, running all over the same place Howard is.
Yep.
Looking for TurboMan, because they both forgot.
Yes. Like, Howard leaves early in the morning to try and get this toy at the store, and he meets Myron in line, who, again, is obviously on duty and is, thinking he's going to slip in there while he's on his route, and then instead his entire day is eaten away, and he delivers none of his mail.
Myron, by the way, is played by Sinbad, and he is the antagonist of the movie.
He's a delight in the movie. Would you say he's... Well, yeah, I guess he is the antagonist, but so is the neighbor.
Okay, so there's a secondary antagonist in the form of Ted, but Myron is the main antagonist because he's competing for TurboMan.
Yeah.
The objective of Howard is to get TurboMan. Myron is there to prevent him from getting TurboMan in the plot.
Okay, yeah, but that's the primary, driving force, but I would argue that's the subplot, because the primary plot is that he has to learn to prioritize his family.
Well, the main drive of the story is to get TurboMan, therefore he is the main antagonist.
Okay, yeah, but when you thought bubble it out, one is primary and one is secondary, because you don't have the secondary one if he's not trying to accomplish his primary goal, which is to impress his child.
Let's make this even more simple. Who has more screen time?
Who does the child give a TurboMan doll to in the end?
Phil Hartman or Myron?
Who does he punch in the end? Phil Hartman or Myron?
He doesn't punch Phil Hartman. He punches Myron.
He does.
No, he doesn't. When the fuck?
Oh, she punches him. He got eggnog all over his ass.
What the fuck movie did you watch? Phil Hartman's character never got... Ted never got punched by Howard.
Okay, no, she punched him then.
Okay.
I know he got eggnog all over his face. He's definitely more of an antagonist to the family as a whole, I would argue.
Well, it doesn't matter because Myron has more screen time.
Lots of people have screen time.
It matters because he's got more screen time. That makes him the main antagonist.
It just makes him another main character.
Yeah, the main antagonist.
Okay, half the time they work together, though.
Yeah.
That's like saying Draco Malfoy is the main antagonist because he has more screen time than Voldemort. Doesn't make it true.
They work together sometimes, but he's still the foil to Howard.
Whatever. I'm going to digress because it's not important. But you're wrong.
Oh, yeah. I bet if I go online right now and ask people who the main antagonist is, they're going to overwhelmingly say Myron.
Yes, online, where all of the experts are.
Yeah, because it's really obvious when you watch the movie.
Anyway.
Myron throwing letters out of his bag to lighten his load so he can run as fast as Howard.
Myron pulling random Christmas packages out of his bag and claiming that they are bombs.
And in fact, during one scene where the cops are called after they dashed the radio station to name all of Santa's reindeer so they can get a TurboMan, which turns out to just be a gift certificate for a TurboMan.
Yes. Yes.
Ooh, not the
Yes.
same thing. He pulls out a package, and it just turns out it is a bomb.
Yes. Yes. The first one was a music box. The second one was a bomb.
Yeah, he pulls out two packages at the radio station. One is just a little harmless music box.
Yep.
The other one, this cop who says, "I spent 10 years on the bomb squad," examines and he shakes it.
Another antagonist in the movie. He runs into Arnold several times and slows him down.
Yes, the cop is the tertiary antagonist. You see him like 3 or 4 different times throughout the movie, and he's always hampering Arnold's progress, just as much as Myron is, maybe. Well, not as much as Myron, but he definitely is a roadblock.
Yep. Good times.
Indeed.
Poor Myron. Probably would have gotten fired even if he didn't get arrested.
Of course he's getting fired. He's throwing mail all over the city. He's not delivering anything. People are going to see all those letters all over the road, and they're gonna call the post office, describe this guy, and they're going to pinpoint him.
Right? Ooh. Well, at least he didn't deliver that bomb to its intended.
Yeah, that actually worked out for the best.
Who was that supposed to go to? Who sent that?
Oh, I don't know. Someone a little disgruntled with the addressee.
There's a 4th-degree antagonist here that is never identified.
Whoever that guy was, I guess it worked out for everybody involved.
It did.
Yeah, everybody except Officer Barbrady. Shaking the bomb over.
How many years on the bomb squad was that?
His fellow officer is so skeptical after the package explodes, as he should be.
Right? Okay, and this is like classic 90s. They did when it blows up, they do a really big explosion that you see from the outside of the building when like Sinbad is outside and Arnold is outside, and then they look back and they see the orange coming out of the windows and they're like, that was really a bomb? Sick world with sick people. And then like it cuts back in and you see the officer with like the smoke all over his face and the coughing, and then he falls down like comically, not as though he's brutally injured, and it's like that was way too big of an explosion.
The violence in this movie is great because it's cartoon violence. No one actually gets hurt.
That's what it is, yeah.
Arnold at one point is in the TurboMan suit, and when he's in the TurboMan suit, he's activating his jetpack, which actually works for real.
Yeah.
Is it's like this whole big thing. Like what even?
Yes.
And when he's flying, he rams his head into a wall, but all it does is act like one of those cartoon drills where he's bouncing up and down against the wall. He doesn't actually get crippled or get crushed after he falls into the wall.
Yeah, it doesn't break his neck or anything. And
then another point, Sinbad gets tripped up by a race car and he goes flying and he does a big Home Alone pratfall.
Yup.
And he just gets pretty much right back up and chases Arnold down the street. And that's like the first point where we see him lightening his load.
Yes, just chucking mail out of his bag like it don't matter. And I love, there's another
it's
scene.
It's lost in the mail, don't worry about it.
Yes. And it's like there's that scene at the diner where he's kind of talking about that, be like, these people, they never talk to their relatives at any other time of the year, and then they want me to deliver their crap at Christmas so that they can feel better. He's just ranting about his job, and so then it like comes full circle when he's just chucking it like, you don't care about these people anyway. Why should I care? I'm not delivering your crap just to ease your conscience. Get my toy for my kid.
Yeah, this is the one point in the movie when they're at the diner when him and Howard, I should say, Myron and Howard, finally come to a truce for a very brief period and talk very friendly-like about their problems.
Well, yeah, because they both think that they're done. They're not going to get a doll. All the dolls are gone. So they're just drowning their miseries together and commiserating about how terrible they are as parents. Because they've failed one time or many times.
Until the radio comes on, and that's when things really escalate.
Yes. And then there's another point where, like, after, several of their schemes to get their Santas, or to get their Turbomans don't work out, where they're like at the mall after they're trying to do this like lottery, and
there's a whole
and
bunch
Arnold gets accused of being a child molester because he's trying to get one of the lottery super balls back from this child who puts it in her mouth.
And really, he was kind of doing a service trying to get it out of her mouth because that's a choking hazard.
I mean, yes, it is.
But also, he was grabbing a child.
Yes, he was a large man grabbing a small child by the mouth in the play area.
Yes, he was actually in the ball pit, which is not a place you should go as a full-grown man.
Right. Honestly, I feel like the most realistic thing about that is that I don't think it was her mom who initially hit him, because that mom didn't pay attention to see her put something in her mouth, so I don't think it was the mom that was paying attention enough to see when that man was handling the child. I think it was another mom that started, and then all the moms started hitting him with her purse. More classic comedy. Some of those purses were probably actually pretty heavy.
I think one of the more unrealistic things is he kind of just walked away from the situation and nothing happened.
Unfortunately, that's kind of common. I mean, in that particular scenario, yes, he would be arrested, but like generally.
Well, he got his because he went with Santa Claus, played by Jim Belushi.
Yes!
His co-star from Red Heat, who just happens to make a cameo here as a mall Santa.
Yep.
And they go to
a crooked mall Santa.
Yes, they go to this warehouse where there's the promise of a TurboMan.
He's the original bad Santa.
Mm-hmm. And they go through this whole spiel. They show him the TurboMan.
It's very obviously a whole counterfeit production occurring in this giant warehouse.
As soon as they walk in, they see bears being manufactured.
Yeah, coming down the assembly line.
Like, and then they look just the cheapest crap on the market.
Like, literally, they had to knock, 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 give a password to get in. Jingle bells, Batman smells.
And if they're just sculpting products, you don't have to work that hard to sculpt a toy.
Right.
They were selling it to Howard at a markup of $300.
Right, and what do we think this toy was originally? Like $50, maybe?
Okay, let's be real. Back in '96, a toy that size might have been like $10.
But it's like that big.
It might have been 15, maybe. Toys back then were not that expensive.
They weren't like $50. Okay.
Okay, a little 6-inch action figure back then was maybe like $6, $5 or $6.
Okay.
Like one of those toys that they show all those rows of Fantastic Four and Ghost Rider, and they had a whole bunch of different superhero toys back then, and they were all like maybe $6-7, somewhere around there.
All right. So we're looking at a markup of like 15 times.
Yes, we're looking at a huge markup.
Okay.
At the very most, this toy would have been $20.
All right. And so obviously he laughs at him like, "What kind of scam are you running here?" And he's like, "The kind of scam where you're a dumbass who didn't get your kid a toy before Christmas Eve."
At which point you say, "Hey, jerk ass has a point."
Right. All right, fine. I'll give you your money. He gives him his toy. But then he's like, "Don't open it.
Well, at which point you raise an eyebrow like, why wouldn't you want him to open it if this is the real thing?
Yeah, well, now I'm going to open this gift wrap toy and make sure.
Well, now you have to open it because he's shouting, "Don't open it."
Yes. And he opens it and it looks like TurboMan, which.
Looks like TurboMan.
At that point, he almost got away with it. But, he's got the realistic voice box that the kid knows about.
Unfortunately, it speaks Spanish.
I died laughing when that happened.
Hablo inglés.
Something, mi nombre es TurboMan. Oh my god, it was so funny. And then he's like, "It's the educational version."
The multilingual version. It's
educational.
It's fun and educational. Jim Belushi says, trying to save face.
Right? And so then he's like, "I want my money back." And then when he goes to give it back to him, the head flies out of the box. And then Jim Belushi goes, "Some assembly required." Like, such a scam. A $300 scam.
What was going on with this toy?
I don't know.
That it was just falling to pieces.
Right. Did they...
Even if it was a counterfeit, did they have glue there or something that they glued the thing together with or whatever?
Maybe they couldn't figure out how to counterfeit the moving joints.
Oh, God. Yeah. Well, it's literally just like a peg.
I mean...
Have you ever seen the inside of an action figure? It's not that complicated.
I'm not saying it is. I'm saying they're lazy.
I mean, we're talking action figures back then were much simpler than the action figures they got now. They had maybe like 8 points of articulation. You had a neck, that swiveled so the head could turn. You had
2
arms.
elbows.
Yeah.
Shoulders.
Yeah. You had maybe elbows that moved. You had maybe shoulders. The hips moved one way, up and down. The knees moved, up and down too. And that was about all you got. If you were lucky, the waist would swivel too.
Okay.
Yeah, toys were not that complicated then, and before that, they were even simpler.
Mm-hmm.
Because it used to be toys only had maybe like 5 points of articulation.
Shoulders, hips, neck.
Yep. That's right.
Okay.
And then they started including waist.
Oh, for the fancy pants children.
Yeah, well, actually, they included the knees and elbows before the waist.
Interesting.
Yeah, at some point, they started including the waist too.
That's fair, though. Knees and elbows are more interesting.
Yeah. So, yes, this toy is not that hard to make. It's not that hard to create a peg, put it into the little hole, and seal it onto the body.
And yet they failed so spectacularly.
They failed even to do that.
Spectacularly, they failed. And they failed apparently on like a, what's the term I'm looking for? Like a high profile level. Because while Howard is like arguing with these Santas over getting his money back, they get busted by like the feds.
Why is it even speaking Spanish? Why wouldn't it just say a bunch of other crap, but also in English?
You know what? That's a good question, because a lot of toys are just bilingual. But also, this was, 1996, so maybe not yet. I mean, it was hard enough to get, like, a black or a brown doll.
Well, yeah, they were import versions. You could have gotten a toy from, like, Brazil or some shit.
Mm-hmm.
So it would have been saying a bunch of shit in Portuguese, but it would have been essentially the same toy.
Yeah, and then why would it have been in pieces?
Yeah, that's what I like. Did they break the toy?
Maybe they had like an in at the factory and somebody just stole a bunch of parts, and so then they never had it assembled, or they didn't have the points of articulation to put in there.
Yeah, I wanted them to kind of explore that a little bit more.
Right.
Like, why is this toy in shambles? Why is it speaking Spanish? This is a very confusing counterfeit.
A delightfully confusing counterfeit.
There's so many. The counterfeit raises so many questions about why these people are their entire grift is counterfeiting.
What city do they live in?
Oh God, I don't know.
Is there like a large Spanish-speaking population that they were thinking they were going to cater to, assuming that they would be buying things underground? Is there like a racist aspect to this?
I have no idea what town they were in. Let me look. I think like most stories, it's probably in like New York or California.
Mm.
You know how it is.
No, it snowed. Can't be California. Well, maybe Northern California.
It's probably like New York because, I mean, look at all the places that Howard was going
like
to.
Chicago or something.
Yeah, it's probably one of those. Okay, Minneapolis. Wow. Okay.
Minnesota.
They're in Minnesota.
Oh, wait. What? Maybe they were at the Mall of America.
Yeah, they actually were at the Mall of America.
Okay.
That's right. I forgot about that. They were at the Mall of America. That's where Howard was getting into all the shenanigans.
Okay. That would be the place to try and find a TurboMan on Christmas Eve, though.
Unfortunately, no dice.
No.
Just little rubber super balls.
I kind of wonder if they did have more scenes that explained a little bit more about those counterfeit toys, because what I hadn't seen about this movie that we had this time is that you got the extended version, and I'd only seen the theatrical version.
Honestly, I didn't think the extended version added all that much.
There were only a couple of scenes. A couple, like maybe 3 extra scenes. One of them was real short. One of them was the singing part that James Belushi does.
I like the singing part that the Santas did. I thought that was nice.
It was nice.
But
Didn't
there were
really
a few
add anything, but it was nice.
No, it didn't add anything, but it added a little bit maybe to the Santas there.
Yeah. And it kind of gave him more that dick persona before they fight.
Yeah.
And kind of showed the camaraderie of all the Santas together to show why they would all jump in on the fight. So yeah, I guess it's worth keeping it in there.
Yeah, but most of the other stuff that they showed in the extended cut really wasn't worth watching.
One thing in there that I liked that I wish they'd have kept is that short scene with him and the tow truck driver.
Oh yeah, that was kind of funny.
Because it was funny. It reminded me a little bit of like that real hammy scene in Dutch, where Dutch is trying to teach little coyote kid how to cry and get a hitchhiker get them to pick up a hitchhiker.
Yeah.
Because he's like hamming it up, and the tow truck driver's like, you got to be more remorseful. less, snotty or whatever. When he's like, I'm sorry, I could not get the Turbo Man. Can you forgive me? Because it shows he's not actually remorseful. He's still just trying to, get his. He's not really focused on the right things yet. Like, there's a character development there that I enjoy.
And then the driver tells him, why don't you just cry like a little girl?
Yes! Like, decide what you want, lady. This lady had she was like blonde Roseanne Barr.
They should have gotten Roseanne Barr for that part. That would have been hilarious.
She would have been good.
Oh, God, before Roseanne became terrible.
Oh, my God, right? Yeah.
Oh, my God. The possibilities.
Right?
Oh, boy.
The last thing we need to touch on, you kind of already mentioned.
Yeah, the irresponsibly functional parade costumes of TurboMan and TurboMan's arch nemesis. I don't remember the name of the character.
Booster! Oh, no, not the arch nemesis.
Booster was his sidekick.
No, the
It was Big Brain and a Vat Man. Whatever. Dementor, yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Dementor and the Demon Team.
God almighty.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, these costumes worked. I mean, I don't know.
Outrageously functional.
I don't know what the fuck kind of Disney engineered geniuses they had working on these things, but the scientific advancements they made are noteworthy and should be studied.
Right.
Because they made a goddamn functional jetpack.
Right.
They made a fist that actually flies off the gauntlet and comes back.
Yes. They had a boomerang that actually goes and comes back to your hand.
They made, functioning like little batarang shooters.
Yep.
Which is probably the most realistic thing that they could have accomplished in that movie.
Yep. And apparently they've choreographed a whole thing, but like not to the point where everybody knows what's going on. So it's that like perfect hodgepodge of chaos. So like when he comes out and he's flying around and like the enemies come out and they're all fighting and they're like, why don't you know the choreography? And yet when Dementor is chasing that little kid up the side of the building, nobody's like, why don't they know the choreography?
Like, the announcers actually do mention when Myron dressed as Dementor, because Myron stole Dementor's suit.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile,
he tied him up with some like Christmas lights or something.
Meanwhile, Howard bursts into a warehouse trying to hide from the cops, and he accidentally gets stuck as TurboMan.
Yes, they just assume that based on his size that he must have been TurboMan.
They think that he's the replacement for the guy that got hurt during
filled
rehearsals.
in, right? Yes, because of the outrageously functional costume.
Which also would make you question, why are they so butthurt about him not knowing the choreography if he's there on short notice?
Yeah, if you just found him and he walked in because Pete just finally showed some brain activity, that's really good news. Like, maybe cut this guy some slack.
Aren't they supposed to be the ones giving him some cues so he can get through this thing? Right.
And why didn't they have an understudy, for that matter, if there's this complicated choreography and a jetpack involved?
Well, they probably didn't think it was going to be so... They probably should have if they're going to have an actual jetpack sequence.
Right.
But typically in a parade, you're probably not going to have an understudy because it's just a friggin' parade.
Yeah.
You're just waving. You're not actually using a jetpack and flying through the air.
You'd think. And I want to know why. Who are these newscasters? Why are they so dumb? Like, why is it that they're not at all concerned when this kid is, like, climbing up the side of a building, falling down on this Christmas tree? They're just like, TurboMan, fly, use your jetpack. They still think it's part of the show. Even the cops thought it was part of the show. They're trying to tell Liz, like, it's okay, honey, it's just part of the show. And she's like, no, that's my child. Believe me, I have signed no consent form. This is not part of the show.
Even though she's shouting it and they're just shrugging their shoulders. It's part of the show.
Right? It's part of the show. How intense does your Christmas parade get? It's the Wintertainment Parade.
It's the only thing they have in Minneapolis.
Right? Wow. Ridiculous.
Oh my God. Yeah, this entire sequence was kind of great, even though the stunts were out of this world.
And these stunts were done before CGI was like the common way to do that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, they still used CGI because CGI was a thing at the time, but it was kind of still in its infancy, so it didn't look super great. We have to bear in mind that CGI was in a place where it could be used pretty effectively, because when Brandon Lee died on the set of The Crow, they used CGI to replace him. They used a stand-in and CGI.
Mm-hmm.
Because what they did was they used the stand-in and they CGI'd his face on top of the stand-in.
Oh, so the heavy makeup probably helped.
Yeah, they used a lot of makeup. They used some camera angles and some heavy rewrites.
I mean, the fact that Brandon Lee was wearing makeup for most of the movie probably
Yeah.
made it easier to fudge the features and stuff.
Yeah, they had to use a lot of CGI for like that opening sequence where he gets killed in his apartment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a whole big thing. It was kind of remarkable to learn after the fact. Oh, Brandon Lee actually was dead when that was filmed.
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit.
Yep. But according to that behind the scenes thing we watched, a lot of this was practical effects.
Oh yeah, a lot of it's practical.
The fire on the jetpack, all the wires pulling people up, cables and cranes and stuff.
Oh yeah, they filmed in front of like a blue screen, or they use a blue screen or a green screen depending on what they need.
Mm-hmm.
So they filmed Arnold in front of a blue screen to get all the effects that they needed while he was spinning all around and all that crap.
Mm-hmm. And apparently Arnold is a dream to work with.
Yeah, he doesn't complain at all. He just kind of powers through it. Says, think of how good it's going to be in the end.
Right. It does not matter how you feel. We are consummate professionals.
It does not matter how you feel. You only think about how the end is going to be.
You can have me in a harness for hours. I will never complain.
I am very manly.
Yup. Yup.
These other people, they are babies.
You're ridiculous.
Well, that about sums up Jingle All the Way, I think. So,
a delightful family comedy.
Why don't we go ahead and take a look at what the reviews on Amazon say. All right, our first Amazon review comes from Marcella, who says, saw this... Oh, let me read the headline first. TurboMan, great movie, 1 through 5, definitely 5.
Accurate.
Saw this only half on TV and never got to see all of it, and it caught my attention. Wasn't sure if I was going to be disappointed or not on buying it, but I didn't regret it one bit. Great movie. I can somewhat relate to the kid since my father was always busy working, always forgetting to do stuff, and always gets gifts last minute. LOL. But great movie. I love it.
Oh, accurate. There's nothing wrong with that one.
Our second review comes from Stephanie, who says, an oldie but goodie. This movie is top 5 all-time Christmas movies for... That's an incomplete thought, Stephanie. Nice work. This person graduate from grade school? It's about learning from mistakes, the importance of family, and it's super funny. Arnold trying to be funny is just so funny. My husband watched it for the first time, and he agreed that it's a good one.
It is.
And he's not big on Christmas movies. I usually force him to watch them.
Oh, don't do that.
Woo! Nice. All right, our last 5-star review comes from That Dingo, who says, classic.
This is a classic Christmas movie. I watched this movie as a kid so many times during the Christmas season. I had an overwhelming craving to watch this movie this holiday season. The boyfriend had never seen it, and I was more than happy to share it with him. He said it was stupid, but I heard him laugh, and I saw him smile a few times, blowing his cover. Put that cookie down is now an inside joke. Classic.
Oh, well, let's find out what the dissenting opinions have to say about Jingle All the Way. Our first 1-star review comes from Ibanez Kid, who says, Jingle all the way to hell, baby.
Wow.
A busy father is willing to do anything, including lying, murder, stealing, evading police, B&E, hit and run, and many more whimsically illegal things to get a toy for his son on Christmas. Lucky for Arnold, blowing someone up leads to a hilarious suit-filled face. Ah! Watching this movie as an adult was a bad idea.
Damn. Harsh.
1 star, of course.
Yes.
Our second 1-star review comes from Michael, who says, I thought it was funny then. Oh. I watched this back in the 90s around the time it came out. I thought it was funny then. Oh, how memory can be deceiving. Or I have changed a lot. Anyway, rewatching it this year, I realized It is terrible. Awful. Annoying. Nothing redeeming about it. Don't waste your time.
Jeez. Okay, Michael, Mr. No Fun.
Our last one-star review comes from Wendy, who says, "No, thank you."
I'm not sure why people like this movie. It was terribly boring and so predictable. But most importantly, the message was terrible. The dad wants to make up for being a failure of a father by buying his kid the one toy he wants most on Christmas Eve, and also the hottest toy of the year. So the dad spends all day away from home searching, fighting other people Black Friday style looking for this toy. Meanwhile, he's missing important time away from his family, missing traditions and memories. But in the end, the kid gets the toy and yay, all is well. Really? Nope, not for my family. We'll stick with Muppet Christmas Carol, donating this one to Goodwill. Okay, Wendy. Way to teach your kids the Christmas spirit of giving people only the things that you don't want and think are inappropriate.
Amazon reviews, everyone. Thank you for your input.
Wow.
Well, what do we learn from this movie?
I learned that you need to put that cookie down.
Oh, I learned that mail doesn't really have to be delivered.
Certainly didn't at the beginning of 2020. So many things got lost. Oh, shit. I learned you should probably check on the security of your front door lock.
I learned that karate moms are horny as hell.
Mm-hmm. I learned that you can just rent a reindeer.
Did he rent a reindeer or did he buy one?
Why would he buy one?
Because he said he was going to set it free.
Okay, maybe he did buy it. That's irresponsible.
I think it was kind of a legitimate question by Howard beginning, and what about after the holidays?
Right? Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't realize he was just going to abandon it in the wild with none of its own kind.
Yeah, he was just going to set it free near a lake or something.
My God, he's the worst. Wow. Also, I learned that if you punch a furry animal, it'll get a black eye that changes the color of the fur around the eye.
Didn't you know that? It's an evolutionary trait. Reindeer do that.
Come on. I let a lot go, but come on. Come on.
I learned that bombs don't actually blow you to bits. They just give you a nice round of
soot and singe.
Yeah. It's actually pretty safe, all things considered.
That's why you can just shake it. That's what the bomb squad teaches.
Shaking a bomb. Standard practice.
Yep. I learned that a gift certificate is just as good as the real thing, because you can redeem it eventually.
I'm a little disappointed that it didn't come back. That the gift certificate didn't come back at the end of the movie. It
would have been so funny if instead of like when on the parade float when they raised the toy up, if instead of that they raised up a gift certificate. Or if it'd been like a closed box and then they open the box up and instead of a toy, it's the gift certificate.
Oh, that would have been just the funniest. But I'm also a little disappointed that after, Jamie gave his TurboMan to Myron, that Arnold didn't give Jamie the gift certificate. Which would say, you're eventually going to get a TurboMan.
I don't think he got the gift certificate. I think they left in such a frazzle with the police and everything that I'm not sure they took the gift certificate from the studio.
He did. Harold was running out of that studio. He had the gift certificate in his hand.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
he
then
had
I guess
he
he
hand.
could have.
He had it on his person, so it could have made an appearance at the end of the movie.
Okay, yeah, that would have been fun then. All right.
So it's one of those little things that kind of knock it down to the lower tier.
Oh, shut up.
Yeah, it's one of those missed opportunities.
All right.
C'est la vie.
Yeah.
Life lessons from Jingle All the Way, my friends. Well,
you know what would have been really funny is
what?
if when he was flying in the jetpack, or like if he Okay, instead of him getting suddenly good at flying the jetpack and saving Jamie, if the reindeer had come flying through and Jamie had landed on his back. And then everybody would have had to be like, Comet!
It might have been a little funnier than Arnold actually, mastering the suit and all that, but then you wouldn't have had the big heroic moment.
It wouldn't have made as much sense, and it wouldn't have been as good for the movie, but oh damn, would it have been funny.
Oh, it would have been hilarious. Just like Howard being this abject failure of a man.
Yeah.
Oh, you fail as a parent, now you suck as a superhero.
Don't worry, the reindeer that you abused save your child.
In that version of the movie, Liz asks for a divorce.
Yes, and then marries Comet, who, even with skewed depth perception, could still rescue a child.
Hey, at least Comet has a job.
One day a year.
It's a big job.
It is. Got a lot of overtime that night.
My goodness. Well, what's your final rating for this movie?
Okay, I love this movie. See it. I give it 1 angry drunk reindeer, a bucket full of super balls, and a quintessentially angry mailman.
I'm going to give this movie a thermos of spilled eggnog.
Okay.
I'm going to give it a big angry giant.
Ooh. Mm-hmm.
And what else could I give it? I'll give it one more thing. I'll give it, I'll give it a couple of bandaged hands. On a former bomb squad officer.
Mm-hmm. All right. That's not a bad rating for a low tier movie.
Yeah. I like this movie a lot. I really enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
I know I don't think it's an upper tier movie, but I enjoy watching it every year.
Mm-hmm. It's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I really recommend going out and finding this one. I think you're really going to have a lot of fun with it. Arnold and Sinbad have a lot of chemistry together. They're very funny together.
Oh, yeah. I wish they'd done more things.
Oh, yeah. I think that they might have made a good... they might have done well in a couple of different movies. But it wasn't meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
So, whatevs.
Yeah.
Go ahead and check it out. That's all I got to say about that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, next time we're going to go take a look at Christmas with the Cranks again. Because we got some things to say about Christmas with the Cranks.
Yeah, this movie is growing on me because every time I watch it, I get more and more, vehemently in favor of the Cranks.
Here's the thing about Christmas with the Cranks. It's not that it's a lousy movie. It's that the moral lesson that you take away from this movie is just completely...
wrong.
It's immoral.
It's fundamentally bad lesson.
The life lesson just sucks.
Yeah, the wrong people are portrayed as the good people who are the people teaching a lesson, and then the people who are supposed to be learning a lesson and going through this character arc are the wrong people, and the character arc moves in the wrong direction.
That's the thing about the movie. No one learns the lessons they're not supposed to.
Yeah. This is
not even in an ironic way, like, Bad Santa.
Yeah. This is just a movie where this couple just gets their consent boundaries violated over and over.
There's a time when learning the wrong I'm getting tongue-tied. Learning the wrong lesson is actually funny.
Mm-hmm.
And Bad Santa is an example of that, where it's portrayed ironically, like, this isn't the lesson you're supposed to actually take away,
right?
But this is a lesson we're portraying because it's funny as hell,
right? And then even sometimes be like, you're taking away kind of a good lesson, but in the wrong way, like the kid learning not to let people bully him, but like he's doing it because he's wearing a T-shirt that's wildly inappropriate for a 9-year-old. Like, what did it say? Shit happens when you party naked, I think.
Yeah.
Giving the finger, like kicking kids in the balls. Like, were they the right lesson? No. But did he learn to stand up to himself or for himself? Yes.
God, I love Bad Santa. Such a funny movie. Gotta be one of the funniest Christmas movies ever made.
It's a good one.
Unfortunately, the sequel's not as good. Which is a bummer. Mm-hmm. Anyway. That's about it for Jingle All the Way. We'll be back soon with Christmas with the Cranks.
And Die Hard.
Yeah. No one. That would imply that Die Hard is shit.
No, it just implies that you don't think it belongs in the Christmas queue.
No, it doesn't. It does not belong in the Christmas queue. It's just an action movie.
Right before Gremlins.
Shut up.
The other Christmas classic.
Shut up.
Die Hard 2 also takes place on Christmas.
Shut up. If you want to see our videos of our podcast, be sure you check out our YouTube channel, An Unfortunate Case of Movie. If you want to hear some of our other opinions while we're watching movies, go ahead and check out our Twitter, Case of Movie. At Case of Movie, that is. And, of course, check us out on Spotify and Audible.
Yes.
We're on both those. You can listen to all of our current podcasts.
All of the places voices can be heard.
Indeed. Well, until next time, with love from us to you, we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye. Merry Christmas.